I have been here as a participant of Quark 3 years back, and I really enjoyed it. So, the reason I go on attending competitions, like I have been attending more than 22 international and national competitions, won almost all of them. The reason being that, first year, as enthusiastic as all of you, I went to my senior, along with a bunch of friends from all different departments, and I coming from bioengineering. I asked my seniors, what would be my placement like? What is the initial salary I would get? I was expecting like minimum 1 lakh rupees per month, and a big company offering me a big job in some code. So the senior was like, he was speaking to a mechanical guy. He said, "Oh, Ashoka Lalan will take you. For electronics, Siemens will take you. You're bio. I don't think you will get a job. But still, some IT companies might employ you." I said, "What?" So I thought, leave all this. I was depressed for a few months. And I thought, let's stop thinking about job. Let's stop thinking about what's going to happen in the future. Let's start doing something different. And I started doing projects. And that became a burden and headache for all the professors in the college. I just went after them, troubled them, "Sir, please give me some project. Please give me some project." It was like something like that. And then I went up with few my own ideas, and I started working. None of them completed, and some of them were half, some of them were just completed. And during the process, it's like innovation is a process. You have to practice. So in the process, one hot afternoon, to just beat the heat, I went and sat in a conference room. And I happened to see a professor from Harvard speaking about carbon nanotubes and the fantastic mechanisms it has to offer. It's like carbon nanotubes are like 300 times more stronger than steel, just 1/6 of its weight, and electrical conductivity as high as copper, thermal conductivity as good as diamond. I thought, fantastic, I got my material. I'll just make something best out of it. So I thought, let's make a biosensor out of it. Because he was mentioning about some biosensors. So I thought, I didn't have any crystal idea that what I'll be making out of it, but I thought, let's make a biosensor. I started reading papers and all. And finally, start searching for materials. Where do I get materials? And then when I found that carbon nanotubes, the cost of carbon nanotubes are more costly than gold. So I just called my dad and said, "Dad, can you buy me carbon nanotubes? Just something like, $400 or so." He said, like, "Better try something else, which is more affordable." He said in a very nice way. I understood that, and then I went to my professor and said, "Can you buy it for me?" He said the same thing, and I thought, let's make it by myself. And I started searching in googling like, what should I do for that and all. Then I heard about a CVD furnace, chemical vapor deposition furnace. That furnace is like to provide very high temperatures, inert or vacuum atmosphere, fast hydrocarbons. Then you have the catalyst, which is pasted over a substrate. So this is some basic idea I got. And I went to my professor and said, "Ma'am, do we have this CVD furnace?" She said, "We have it, but we usually don't give it to undergrads because they destroy them." I said, "Okay." So that option was also closed. So I had to think of something alternative again and again. So being brought up in Mumbai, I was well versed with pollution. The pollution directly used to hit your face when you travel. And when I travel from Navi Mumbai to Mumbai, I always end up having a migraine when I get home. And I was always in the process of thinking to convert those carbon emissions into something better. So if you see all the furnaces and boilers in the world, they have high temperature, they have an inbuilt vacuum or inert atmosphere because of some presence of gases. They have this carbon containing gases, might be hydrocarbons or carbon dioxide. So what I all need is a substrate and a catalyst. So my next target was to get a substrate and a catalyst. A typical substrate that is used are like platinum crucibles or alumina or silicon. So I thought of using platinum. I called up my dad again. He said, "It's like 25,000 rupees only. It's a small platinum, I'll get it, He said, "But try for something else." So this else, right, trying for something else, ended me making a brick, a normal cement brick, over which I just coated a sand. I thought sand is also inert, let's use that. And for that, I went up to a nearby construction workers and I asked them, I told them, Anna Punjam cement and sand. And he finally gave me something, I don't know, he liked my Tamil. That's why he gave me. So finally we made the substrate and catalyst. So we got some chemicals, stole some chemical literally from the chemical department, took it to the hostel. The noodles we make in the induction cooker, I just made it in that, my first catalyst. It was a very raw mechanism. Somehow I tried to port it over the substrate. Now everything was set. All I need is a furnace, an industry. I went to few industries and they were like, we are very private, we don't even allow photograph. How can we allow you to insert your substrate into the furnace? I was like, oh my god, this is also closed. The only option then was a small rice mill next to my university. I went up to the guy and said, see sir, if this experiment is successful, you will be the next Mark Zuckerberg. He didn't understand what Mark Zuckerberg was. I told him, yeah, you will make lots of money. He said, okay. Then he somehow liked that idea of making money and he allowed me inside. And that's how I first did my experiment. This is one of my friend holding the substrate in the path of flue gas. I thought at least not carbon nanotubes. I should get some form of carbon material. Because at the end of the reaction I saw some black color formation. And the next target was to analyze. So for analysis, you require transmission electron microscope, scanning electron microscope, Raman spectroscopy, and this again was a headache. Finally, I went again to my ma'am and said, ma'am, this time you should not say no. So I finally tried to convince her somehow and did my analysis. And the analyst was a very naughty guy. He always calls me at 9 p.m. and says, I think I'm going to start my analysis now. Please don't get any ideas. So, and he said, if you want to get the results, bring the CD in 5 minutes. And you know how campuses are located. They are very remote and the shops and the hostel are like kilometers away. And I had to just run like 5 kilometers. And when I entered the room, the TEM room, that guy said, I think you have got some tubular formations. I was like, wow, now this is a $1 billion idea. I was so happy that I just captured all the images in the CD and just ran to every room in the hostel, telling my friends, hey guys, I got tubes. I didn't understand first, they were thinking that I was mad, but finally I convinced a few of them and they were my teammates later. So I understood that essentially that this idea will be a good idea because in one way we are reducing the carbon emissions, in another way we are making something very valuable and useful commodity like carbon nanostructures, carbon nanotubes and all. So the current problems of global warming, everyone over here knows that what is global warming, climate change, the level of rise in sea, and it's essentially true that if we don't stop global warming, by somehow the world is going to end in few hundred years. There are statistics proving that and there are solid statistics proving that. You can Google out and find out lots of them. And people are holding lots of conferences and serious conferences around the globe telling about global warming. But what are the current solutions available? That's like carbon capture and storage. You capture carbon, take it underground, and many industries don't apply them because they are highly capital intensive and non-profitable. So for industries to use, they always need some sort of profit out of it. So this idea would motivate them to become billionaires like the one I fooled with rice mill. So now let's see the other perspective of carbon nanotubes. Carbon nanotubes are like fantastic materials. They have lots of applications in the terms of, NASA is making a space elevator from the ground to the space, like 35,000 kilometers. It's made by Obayashi Corporation, and most of the material out of it is carbon nanotubes. The Piranha unmanned vessel uses carbon nanotubes. The Honda has started using carbon nanotubes for hybrid cars. So the market for carbon nanotubes are pretty high. But most of the applications that you read in science, you don't see it. You don't use carbon nanotubes. How many amongst us use carbon nanotubes? None of them. The reason being the cost. So for carbon nanotubes to be used by your generation, to be possible is only then, it's only if we can produce carbon nanotubes at a cheaper rate. So this methodology that we are doing is like, we are having an automatic prototype that is installed in many industries across India, which continuously convert the carbon emissions into carbon nanotubes. In this picture, you can see that the flue gas interacts with the catalyst, which is sprayed in the reaction chamber, which again is taken upside to the pressure of the gas and collected at the collection chamber due to some electromagnetic mechanisms, and the pure oxygen is left out. By this technique, we aim to reduce around more than 40 to 50% of the existing carbon emissions in the world. Now, we have performed this technology in a rice mill where the temperature was just around 120-150 degrees Celsius. So this technology proves that we can reduce carbon emissions even at a lower temperature. So why not apply it in vehicles? So we made a prototype that can be fitted every car. So when you go to a petrol pump, you just, the attendant will come, replace the prototype for you. In return of that, you get more than 0.5% reduction in the fuel. So isn't that like making money when you burn cars? So we thought, if we limit this technology to few industries in Tamil Nadu or in Gujarat, it's not going to make any huge environmental impact. For a huge environmental impact to suppress not local warming, like global warming, we thought we should spread around the globe. So by the end of April 2013, we would have our foods in 14 countries all around the world. And we are the first carbon nanotube manufacturing company noted by the Forbes in India, and we are proud of it.